want everybody. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I just, yeah, it's not. I'm always a early person, so forgive my lateness. Sorry.
All right. All right. Thanks for coming on board.
Thank
All right.
you for
So,
having me.
yeah, viewers, good evening again, and welcome to another exciting moment with the Trans and Society Empowerment for Transformation Initiative. Today, we are looking at a very, very sensitive topic, which has to do with every home. And we have with us today a very peculiar medical practitioner. She is a public health physician, a medical doctor by training, a public health speaker, nutrition consultant, weight management specialist, and more. You tell me if I'm overweight. All right, yeah. So we'll be talking about unhealthy eating in children. My name is Dr. David Ekpe. So the floor is yours, doctor. Just tell us a little about unhealthy eating in children, then we'll start off from there.
So the first thing I like to start with is the fact that the first 1,000 days of a child's life, we usually say the
Yeah.
first 1,000 days, the most important days in a child's development are the first 1,000 days. And we date the 1,000 days from the day that the baby is conceived, from the day you conceive, you meet with your husband or you meet with your wife. From that day, that is day one. So most likely you're not going to know about this, you're not going to know about your baby until the first month. And that is why it's
Okay.
important when you're trying to be deliberate about your child's health and development, that the moment you know you want to have a baby and you are trying for conception, you're having sex, then you should start eating well, eating right. So we want you to eat enough folic acid. We want you to eat a lot of micronutrients. Now, the 9 months that you have here will be like, almost the first year. To about 2 years old, we are all within the 3,000 days. So about 2 years old and even above. So why is this portion peculiar? Recent research has shown that when a child has the right nutrition during this period, we're not talking about obesity or being underweight or overfeeding your child. We mean the right nutrition, and I'll go in on that very shortly. That can set the metabolic footprint for a child for life. So they discovered that if you treat your baby well and you're eating the right thing instead of eating junk in the name of pregnancy, and then your child is giving birth to, and you're giving your child nutritious food instead of just Ribena. I'm not saying Ribena is not nutritious, but you know what I mean. Instead of just,
Yeah.
every time the baby is crying, sugar, sugar, sugar. If you're able to be deliberate with your child's nutrition, they've discovered that it affects the child even up to the older age. So when a child is 55, 45, they discovered that what you started with in the first 1,000 days of life will predict a child's propensity to develop hypertension, diabetes, and the other lifestyle diseases in later life. So this is how important, this is why it is very, very important to focus on healthy eating for children. And I always tell people, the fact that your child is big and obese and chubby does not mean your child is automatically healthy. Yes, we like to see a little flesh, but we don't mean it to the point of, over when a child cannot walk and is dragging himself at 7 months old because of that's not what we mean by the right nutrition. I'm thinking I may go too fast, so I'll let you draw me back. So just let me know if I'm on track or, let's move on with at your own pace.
All right. No, you're particularly very on track. The intro is very informative and educating. So, what are unhealthy feeding habits?
Now, unhealthy feeding habits. Let's start with the neonatal period.
Okay.
If your child is just not a neonate is definitely within the first month of life, but if your child is below 6 months. First of all, okay, let's start from pregnancy. When you're pregnant with your child, you should be eating the right balance of nutrients. You should have your macros, which are your carbs, protein, and fat. But you should not neglect your micronutrients. So it's not all about eating shawarma because I'm craving it or cake. You are likely going to be, predisposing yourself to gestational diabetes. Well, diabetes is not caused by sugar, but at the end of the day, you're going to be triggering. If you have that propensity, you're going to be triggering yourself to show blood sugar symptoms, and you may also be having a big baby by all those unhealthy feeding habits. Once your child has been born up to 6 months old, you're supposed to give your child exclusively breast milk.
Yeah.
Now, some people won't be able to breastfeed for one reason or the other, but every woman should try, because breastfeeding is not easy. Don't think that it's just going to be easy and the child is just going to accept and things will be. So that's why we encourage you to breastfeed. But if for a serious reason you cannot breastfeed, give your baby nutrition or milk that is as closely made to breast milk as possible. So there are several brands out there. We're not yet to advertise any brand, but brands that have shown consideration and they've shown their content, and it's almost the same composition as breast milk. They've made it closely to be as close as possible to breast milk. Then you may consider that. Now, after the
Okay.
6-month period, you want to start your child. You want to start doing complementary feeding. Complementary feeding means you're complementing breast milk. It doesn't mean you should stop breast milk.
Yeah.
You're supposed to breastfeed your child till 2 years old. Now, and people will say, no, how will I breastfeed a 2-year-old? Full grown, that's a full-grown adult. But I always say, if you can give your baby goat's milk, cow milk, there are no milk and all those things, they are cow milk. If you can give your baby cow milk, why not continue with human milk? So you can do that. You can do your breast milk and other foods. Start your child on adult diets at 6 months. And now the adult diets have to be your locally available, less processed. So avoid going fine. Many of our meals are canned. A lot of consideration. But as much as possible, you can make the meals yourself. You can blend your soya. And if you can blend, fine, you can go for the tin bowl. But you have to make sure that these are nutritious, not just noodles, not just ribena, not just bobo. You understand me?
Yeah, we're here.
Yeah, so you have to make sure that it is well balanced and there's a lot of thought put
And
into it.
proportion.
Say, when you want to start a child, if you don't want your child to grow up to be a picky eater, when you start a child, start with cup and spoon. Start by making sure that you are not making the food too pepperish. I know we Africans, the food must be pepperish. You want the pepper to taste the baby's mouth because the baby has not had pepper since birth, and so you start. The grandmother starts, dropping pepperish spices. You're going to discourage the child easily. Start with foods that are as close as possible to the breast milk. So you're giving the child. I know some of us have tasted breast milk. I won't bring up that conversation, but breast milk is very bland. It's as close as possible to just being very slightly sugary. So you're supposed to make the meals close to that. Now, in the toddler stage and at the older childhood stage, you should be giving them high-calorie food. So that is when they are active. That is when they are jumping around. They are doing high-five, doing basketball, doing all sorts of things. And so then you make their food quite fatty, make it very, very calorie dense because they need the energy to grow. They're having a growth spurt. That is when you see a child a year ago and then by the time you see the child next, the child is as tall as the roof. They need energy to grow. They need energy to do all the activities they are doing. And so you need to make sure that's when you really need to focus on making their meals very calorie dense.
Wow, I'm so enjoying these conversations right now.
Thank you.
All right,
Yes.
so let's go a little clinical, knowing that you are a physician. What are those diseases associated with poor feeding in children?
Okay, so that's a simple. Poor feeding is just a word for malnutrition, like So there are several types of malnutrition. In the past, we used to be bothered by just kwashiorkor, protein energy malnutrition. We can be kwashiorkor or marasmus or kwashiorkor marasmus. But I don't want to say two clinical terms. But in the past, what used to happen was that because our staple foods are very cheap, like cassava, like gari, people would feed their children with just cassava, gari, and the tummy will just be protruding, and the child is not really growing. The child is having edema because the child is not having enough protein. So the body has body swelling. But now we are concerned with other forms of protein energy malnutrition, like overnutrition. So it's a balance. You have to just be right in the middle, adequate nutrition. And how do you know you're on adequate nutrition? By eating all the classes of food in the right proportion. We have a very funny diet culture. Unless a child has eaten rice, we think the child has not eaten. If by the time we serve the child the rice, we just cut the fish into half because the child is a child. We adults will take maybe 1 or 2 pieces, and then because the child, we use it at the level of seniority. Protein is meant for the older people in the house. And then we serve the men of the house, the leader, we serve them 2 meats, 3 meats. But the child that needs the protein a lot, you divide that same meat into like 4 pieces and give the child
Or
just a quarter. So what we are saying now is, as much as possible, we want people to. The major problem was that people did not used to add enough protein to their meals, and they did not used to balance it. They used to feed on just pure staple carb. But now there's a problem of they are feeding on both, but they are still overdoing the protein and overdoing the carbs. So how do you know the right mix?
yeah.
The right mix is that you don't force feed your child. You have to make sure you don't force feed your child. Your child is not compulsory. We used to also have this culture of, when training our children, we want them to finish everything on their plate. You serve them a lot and you say, you must finish every single thing on this plate. No, it has to be in the right balance. Half of your child's plate should be vegetables and fruits. And because they are just growing up, they are trying other things. Try to make your foods very colorful. Let there be some red, maybe some red tomatoes. Let there be some yellow. Let it be a mix of colors. Let your cutlery be attractive. Don't just put your normal plate you are used to eating on the stainless steel or pure white. No, give them colorful plates with cartoon colors. Make their cutleries beautiful. Arrange their plates properly. Let them look at their plates and just see colors. They're seeing the greens. They're seeing the orange, the white. They're seeing the eggs. Make it attractive. Go out of your way to make. Gone are the days where we don't have time. Just eat. If you like, don't eat the No, we are very intentional. The same way we are intentional about our career, we're intentional about children. Because, come to think of it, times have changed. Now there's more pollution, more cosmetics, more chemicals. So you want to be deliberate about giving yourself fresh, well-proportioned, well-balanced meals. I know you asked about different types of nutrition, but I just have to go into that so that people know. At least you have the pointer. If you're serving your child a food, and all the food is just rice, and there's just one piece of, or maybe 1/2 piece of fish in one corner, you have not done well. You're probably you're probably going to end up with malnutrition. So there should be all classes of food on the plate.
All right. Thank you very much. So another thing that has become basically not a problem, but a habit is the emergence of fast food. How does this affect children? Because this has been really, really, really a culture and a habit right now in Africa, Nigeria specifically.
Now, the culture of fast food came up with westernization. Number one, we began to crave abroad. Over there, it's only the poor, like not only the poor, but I mean, healthier foods are expensive there. But yeah, we've been eating healthy. We started with a background of eating healthy, and we started to, copy what we're not used to, and we took that as being classy. So every Sunday after service or after whatever they are doing, maybe after the mosque or whatever, they come back to give themselves a treat. They go to this fast food and then they binge on ice cream, meat. I'm not saying these things are bad. It's not bad if you do them once in a while, but we made it look like those are luxurious foods. Those are the cream de la creme. And then also because we are hustling, I mean, there are more working mothers. There's no time to really sit down and start saying, oh, let me make soya meal recipe. Let me make applesauce from scratch. Like, the average woman is like, what are you saying? When I can just buy a plate of fried rice, with my money. And so you're right about that culture. But, they are made of refined carbs and processed food. And, we wake up and we say, why are we dying earlier? Why are we having diseases of old age? Why are they occurring in the 20s, in the 30s? Those are the things we need to look into. It may not be easy, it may not be feasible for some even now, but it's something that you have to plan and work towards. Staying away. And, hyping your local food. Hype them up because they are indeed the more healthy food. I have clients that, they tell me when they buy their salads, they are abroad. When they buy their salads, it's much more expensive than eating fries.
Okay.
So, but we have these greens everywhere. We have our ewedu, our okra, our edikai kong, but we made it look to the child like yuck. So when the child says, what did you serve me? What did you serve me? No, I want my chips. So we that's... So it's, and then at the end of the day, the children practice whatever they see you do. I mean, your fridge is stocked with Coke, and you're always downing one Coke. The moment you come back from work, in fact, you send them and say, please go and get me the Coke from the fridge. And you don't want them to drink Coke, and you're giving them Coke. We need to question ourselves. We need to really look back and start from the beginning. I mean, I know we all want the best for our children, but let's just be more intentional and tell ourselves that junks and refined carbs are for very once in a while things. Very, very once in a while. So give your children pepper soup, fish, let them enjoy your local delicacies, and get used to eating even vegetable smoothies.
Yeah, that's really cool. So parents, you're listening wherever you are to what Dr. Ajoke is saying. Your children are your first mentees in the world. They are your first mentees in the world. So what you do is what they copy. So a daddy who does so much of juice morning, afternoon, evening would produce a child who does 2 of it morning, afternoon, evening. So the fruits and the veggies, very, very, very important. Now, doctor, someone is asking, one of our viewers is asking, he says, pancakes and waffles, are they really good for children? Pancakes and waffles.
Now, that's a nice question. And even some of us adults, we eat a lot of waffles and pancakes. So what I try to preach is a culture of balance. I mean, a lot of people are going to feel deprived if you say, don't eat any more waffles, don't eat, it's not good. They'll just be like, and they are still children now. They are still children. Let them live their lives. In fact, I've been in a place where they tell me, keep them sweet. They like sugar. They are still kids. So I'm not disputing that fact. So waffles and all that, they are refined carbs. They are mainly made of refined carbs. But have you been able to do without bread? Like, how many of us, bread is made from flour to refined carbs. So what I preach is moderation. I preach minimization. If you're going to give your child waffles, don't make it like an every time thing. And even as you're eating their waffles, throw in some other veggies and fruits. Let them have their waffles with a fruit smoothie. Let them have their waffles with maybe some vegetable stir fry or some, vegetable blends. So waffles and all that, they are not ideal. But can you avoid them? I mean, I don't force my clients to avoid anything. And because, in fact, I don't avoid some of them. If you're a sweet tooth, I'm a sweet tooth. But the thing is, you have to minimize it. Let's still tell each other the truth. You have to minimize them to the barest minimum.
Yeah, thank you very much. All right, so some other person is asking, one of our viewers said, a couple of parents may not have the ample time to create a feeding or a meal timetable for children, morning, afternoon, evening, Monday to Sunday. So what do you propose? What do you think? What meal proportion will be prime for kids, perhaps morning, afternoon, evening?
So it's interesting you mentioned that because schools are starting, schools are starting from Mondays where I am. I'm not sure in other states, but schools are starting, and you need to make sure that I'm preaching intention. The best way to be intentional about what they eat is to plan their meals. If you cannot create a meal plan and you really need help with that, I give school meal plans, and I help with school meal plans at a fee, of course. But if you don't want to engage my services and you still want to make sure just make sure that you stock eating well starts from the market. What are you buying? If you buy chocolates, even if you are a very disciplined person, you will eventually eat chocolates. If you buy unripe plantain, your mind will be there, especially as a woman, so that your money does not waste. So eating well starts from the market. What are you buying? So buy and stock. You may not have your meal plans well figured out. If you need help with that, you can eat me up for a fee. But if you still want to take control without, my help, just make sure. The more you stock it, the more you'll be more inclined to. Imagine you trying to prepare your breakfast or your meals for your kids to go to school. And when you open the fridge, or the first thing you can sight is the plantain that is becoming ripe, the unripe plantain that is becoming ripe. Or you can sight the apple, that if you don't use it today, you are going to start cutting the apple and make fruit salad. You make some into smoothies. That's when you are going to make some bananas into banana pancakes. So start from the market. Make sure that even if you're not planning it the way you should, stock your kitchen with healthy foods. You'll get around to it at the end of the day.
All right, thank you. Just before we continue, Gloria Jeje just joined us. Thanks for coming. And we have Area Debola. She just joined us. For those of you who are just joining, we are treating a very, very important case when it has to do with family, and that is on healthy eating in children. And Dr. Ajoke is doing so much of justice,
Thank
to see
you.
that
You're too
we get
kind.
to. That's more like it. That's good. So, all right, tell us a little about, baked foods and perhaps homemade pie crust and the rest of that. We really want to learn more about kinds of meals that can add value to children's health.
Okay. So concerning baked food and the meat pie crust and the doughs, the donuts, the sausage rolls, we just have to bear it in the mind at the back of our mind that even though we want our children to have a good time, they are made from flour. And flour has undergone a lot of refinement and processing. And research is linking refined and processed foods to cancers like colon cancers later in life, to
Yeah.
hypertension, to a lot of heart diseases. So I don't say, in fact, you can catch me in a pizza palace tomorrow. Just know that I'm not going to be doing that every day. It's going to be very once in a while. So you have to be, when you're eating such, you eat very little. That's not the time to eat a whole plate of 9 slices of pizza. No. No. If you're tempted, take one bite and leave the rest. If you ever have to choose, let's assume you spent a lot of money buying those foods and you have everything. If you ever have to choose between wasting the food or curbing the calories that you are taking or eating healthy, please just leave that food. At the end of the day, it's not worth it. You usually get the satisfaction from your food in the first 5 to 10 bites. 10 bites at most. Once you're doing more than 10 bites, you're just doing this because the spirit is willing and the body is not cooperative. That's just what you're doing. You are no longer hungry. You are no longer hungry. So you have to minimize your food and input, because of our diet culture. That's why we are emphasizing fruits and vegetables. We are not used to putting enough vegetables. We
Yeah.
treat the
Yeah.
vegetables like a side dish, while the vegetables are the actual food. Your swallow is the side food. So you should have a
Yeah.
whole plate of vegetables, a whole plate of protein. Eat the eba is just, the way you always put that fish in that corner, that's where the eba is supposed to be. Or the amala, or the semo, or the wheat. And do all grain meals. All grain meals they have undergone lesser processing. So those are like your oatmeal, your brown rice, they're fiber rich. And so
All
that's
right.
yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Again, for those of our viewers
Yes.
who just joined in, I would like to say this to you. Be creative with your meals for your children. Like Dr. Joke rightly said before now, those of you who would want to, okay, my child, this is the plate. Because I know some families where they have 7 plates for the kids. It has to
Mm.
be, this is Junior's color, this is his color. Okay, this is David's color, this is Mary's color. So nobody transpires against either of those. But you have, and I am saying to parents, she said, be creative, be colorful. Let the content of because children really do not have the time to think about what meals are healthy or what meals
Mm.
are not healthy. They are just after the taste.
They don't
So if
understand.
it tastes good, yeah, they don't. If it tastes good and the next thing you hear is, oh, mommy, this meal is yummy. They don't care how it
Yes.
is, and all of
Mommy, you're
that.
the best
So
cook in the world.
I'm,
My
I'm,
son
I'm
says that
telling
all the
you.
time.
No, but of course, anybody who would have you as a mom would be eating rich.
Yeah.
Would be eating rich.
Thank
Would be
you.
eating rich. That's like my applause for you because
Thank
it's
you.
quite educative. But then finally, borders across the world, especially in Africa, we are lowly educated on meal portions, and it's basically affecting not just the growth but the strength of our kids. You see that sometimes some kids really do not have the mental energy to perform in school because of meal choices. And so, drop us your advice as our best nutritional physician in the world. We're here to learn. So, drop us
You
your advice
flattered me.
before we go.
So I'm
Ah,
going
I
to
didn't.
save this. I'll just go until tomorrow. Don't mind me.
Okay.
So if I were to just give you something, I want people to take something home from this. In terms of your proportioning, we've mentioned the fact that you use attractive plates, like I said. If you're just
Yeah.
starting out a new meal, you want to make sure that it is not too spicy. If you're starting with a 6-month-old, a 1-year-old picky eater, it's not something that you just start putting pepper or you start, no. You make it very close to what the baby has been used to eating before then, which was probably breast milk. Now, to proportion that plate, half of your plate should be vegetables or fruits, ideally. 1/4 of your plate should be the protein. The remaining quarter can go for the carbohydrates. So let's say you're giving the child fish, rice, and vegetable, or it may not even be vegetable, maybe a fruit that you're just, and they've made a lot of plates with these proportions in mind. They've made
Yeah.
a lot of these children's plates. So the largest proportion, which is half, goes to the vegetables. A child should have about 3 to 4 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. And so by the time you do that, you're already done with 1 serving. So a quarter should be the fish. That means your fish should be as big as the rice. Don't give a child small rice, a lot of rice and small fish. No. If you're going to serve the child that tiny fish, then you may as well give that child very few grains of rice. And I trust you that child is going to say he's not filled up. So make your protein the same size as your carbs and make your vegetables twice the size of your carbs. So that's a good take-home point. If your child is the type that eats only pap, fortify your pap. On my Twitter page, Jane Meach Fitness, I shared the recipe in my food and nutrition clinic. The recipe we share with mothers to fortify their pap, because I know pap is a staple food. So we teach you in my food and nutrition clinic, we teach you how to make sure that you blend the soya milk, the guinea corn, the granules, you blend it. And so if that child thinks he's eating pap, the child is eating a balanced diet in that pap. In that pap, there's protein, there are carbs, there are fats and oil. So if a child says, oh, mommy, noodles are not the best food, I'm not by any way endorsing noodles, but some people won't just stop eating noodles. So you may as well just say that if you're going to be eating anything at all, including noodles, fortify it, make it colorful. Add your carrots, your bell pepper, which isn't so pepperish, your green peppers, sprinkle some sweet corn. Make it colorful. Slice in your eggs systematically. Let them look at their noodles and be like, wow, mommy, what did you prepare? And let them be eager to dig in.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Ajoke. This thing has really taken the wrinkles off my face. As you can see, I'm already becoming fresh by information. Yeah. All right. So this is where we draw the curtains close. This is where we bow out. It's been an amazing time with Dr. Ajoke, who is a medical doctor by training, a public health physician, a nutritional therapist and physician, fitness coach, so I would say in the general language. And we have been so pleased and honored to have these conversations, because not only have you gained so much of knowledge, I here sitting down, I have changed my own ration too. Yeah, so that I have to change my own ration so it will be rich, all right, and all of that. So we are glad and we are pretty happy to have you. We hope to have you again, because trust me, this is highly informative. And for those of you who joined us in the course of these conversations, we're glad, we're happy to call you family. We have Naya Press who just came on board. I celebrate you and we're glad to have you. So, Doctor, can you give us your last word before we bid bye?
My last word will be that at the end of the day, we are probably what we've been eating since childhood. We underestimate that we are probably, the one reason why some people have sugar problems or have skin problems, myself inclusive, it's a build-up. Every one of us, nutrition is literally everything that we are doing. So at the end of the day, if you want to project your future, you want to plan towards a better future, you're going to have to start with what you eat now and start sowing the good dividends in eating the healthy meals.
All right, thank you. Sorry, before we go, someone just said, Gloria JJ says, I have a question. Please, can you type it on so we can run with the questions, because our time is far spent already. Gloria JJ, we're waiting for you. Can you speak, type so we could read it out? All All right, it's obvious for network reasons we can't connect directly with her, so maybe would have to attend to it personally, and then would also have to share your page with a couple of our viewers so that they can ask other questions which they deem fit. But all, thank you so much, and I'm glad to have you. And I
Thank you for
trust,
having me.
yeah, I trust to have you some other time talk on delicate issues of this magnitude. All
No
right, and
problem.
so thank you very much to our
Thank you
viewers.
more.
Okay, we are most grateful. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you again soon and soon again. Bye bye.
Bye.
Wait.